Welcome. My name is Laguerre, and I will be presenting strategies for effective leadership to improve organizational sustainability in order to prepare your organization during this tumultuous transition period. Specifically, I will be discussing what leadership is, the most prominent types of leadership styles, current workplace trends, and my recommendations for the most effective leadership strategies for your organization. According to American psychologist Bernard M. Bass, there are almost as many definitions of leadership as there are persons who have attempted to define the concept. The concept of leadership has evolved immensely due to technological advancement and socioeconomic development. As a result of industrial and organizational research, we understand that leadership is a process, unrestricted by a particular person or position that varies across multiple contexts. The type of leadership style implemented by an organization depends on multiple factors, such as work environment, available resources, employee roles, organizational culture, socioeconomic factors, and technology. These are 7 of the most common leadership styles used in organizations today. One of the most popular styles is, of course, transformational leadership, which requires leaders to inspire employees and motivate them to reach a collective goal. It stimulates a work environment that encourages growth and creativity. This type is utilized in organizations which possess a long-term, inspiring vision and don't require urgent short-term focus. Because employees are usually more in alignment with the organization's values, there are stronger trust-based relationships, which can lead to increase in employee motivation, engagement, and retention, as well as higher levels of productivity. Unfortunately, transformational leadership can result in employee burnout. Furthermore, it requires continuous communication and feedback. One of the most impactful transformation leaders throughout history is Winston Churchill. Unlike transformational leadership, which is unsuitable for short-term development, autocratic leadership can be effective because decisions are made relatively quick and close supervision reduces risk of error, allowing workflow to be rapidly streamlined. This style relies on the leader to make effective decisions to achieve specific goals as dictated by policies and procedures. The clear understanding of organizational structure and employee roles decreases employee strain and increases employee performance. However, lack of empowerment can decrease employee motivation and engagement, which can result in higher absenteeism and increase employee turnover. Additionally, the high amount of responsibility on the part of the leader may lead to employee dependence. While this style is most commonly utilized in the military industry, it has been effective in other sectors as illustrated by Martha Stewart's successful empire. In sharp contrast to autocratic leadership, participative or democratic leadership encourages employees to share opinions and take part in the decision-making process. This leadership style is effective in cases where it is necessary to create ownership and employees are experts in their respective fields, such as technology or construction. This style is associated with decreased risk of catastrophic failure, increased employee team performance, improved employee morale, and the high level of empowerment has been correlated with increase in employee engagement and retention. The overdependence on team input and collaboration burden, however, can lead to a slow and even unproductive decision-making process. John F. Kennedy is a shining example of effective participative leadership. Transactional leadership is one of the easiest to implement. This is because it is based on a simple model of reward and punishment to increase employee motivation. These attractive extrinsic motivations like pay increase or promotions and clear guidelines surrounding the expectations of the organization and the consequences of not meeting those expectations can lead to a higher level of productivity. On the other hand, leaders who focus more on consequences can decrease employee satisfaction, which can cause high employee turnover. The work environment produced could also minimize employee innovation and creativity. While this style is more common in the military, corporate environments, and even international agreements, former sports manager Alex Ferguson has efficiently employed this style in the sports arena. As with participative leadership, delegative or laissez-faire leadership offers employees the opportunity to be highly involved in the decision-making process. However, this style adopts a more hands-off approach. It requires employees to be independent and self-motivated. Since this style develops a workplace where individual contributions and opinions are valued, employees are more likely to demonstrate personal responsibility, leading to a positive work environment that generates higher employee satisfaction and retention. Sadly, the lack of role clarity and little, if any, involvement of leaders can cause poor group dynamics and decrease employee productivity, particularly with employees experiencing low motivation. Not to mention, low accountability can allow some leaders to avoid responsibility for group failures and take credit for group accomplishments. Despite its disadvantages, delegative leadership can be beneficial in sports or corporate environments under efficient leaders like American businessman and investor Warren Buffett, who owns over 60 companies, including Dairy Queen and Geico. Bureaucratic leadership is most often utilized in long-established industries. It frequently places the need of the company above all else and relies on stringent guidelines to meet organizational goals. In situations where a clear chain of command is required and there is little room for error, like McDonald's, this style of leadership is regularly implemented. The effective practices and defined roles will remove favoritism while increasing employee productivity. This style is also associated with high job security and upward scalability. There is little room for creativity, unfortunately. Moreover, changes even to improve productivity can be slow and difficult to apply. Unlike many of the other styles, servant leadership is dependent on a strong, authentic desire of leaders to serve others. This type of leadership tends to focus more on employee needs and interests than organizational outcomes. This style is frequently associated with a strong organizational culture and positive work environment, which can encourage diversity and innovation, increase employee satisfaction and engagement, while reducing employee turnover. Conversely, this style can lead to emotional dependence on leader, undermine leader's authority, and a longer decision-making process. Moreover, focus on employee interests above organizational outcomes can result in a loss of long-term organizational goals. Leadership expert and author Simon Sinek strongly promotes this style because it supports employee interests and development while meeting organizational expectations. As American scholar and organizational consultant Warren Bennis noted, in life, change is inevitable. In business, change is vital. Indeed, change is critical for an organization's development, growth, and sustainability. A change in leadership can significantly impact an organization's success or failure. Before I explain my recommendations for this organization, I want to highlight leadership strategies that were successful or unsuccessful in the current workplace. I'm sure you recognize these popular companies. While Starbucks and Netflix have thrived in this constantly changing work environment, Sears has noticeably declined in recent years, in large part due to leadership. Netflix and Starbucks have applied leadership styles that foster employee motivation and engagement, whereas Sears' CEO incorporated philosophies of Ayn Rand in the organization's leadership style, which place organizational needs and competition over employee engagement and product development. This failure of leadership to maintain an environment that encourages employee initiative and innovation is perhaps one of the biggest reasons for the organization's decline in recent years. So, how do we avoid the pitfalls of previous leadership styles? How do we employ effective leadership strategies following the onset of the coronavirus, which has rapidly accelerated change in the workplace? Although some organizations prefer one style over the other, many find a combination of leadership styles to be most effective. Therefore, I would strongly recommend adopting a situational leadership style. This is an adaptive style of leadership that encourages leaders to vary leadership styles to meet the changing needs of an organization and its employees. We will focus on the second model developed by Dr. Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard that is built on two concepts: leadership and developmental level of follower. According to their theory, the best leaders change leadership styles based on the situation. In other words, the task to be performed and the employees performing it. The following matrix and chart shown was established based on the model. The matrix indicates the four main styles of leadership, which are directing, in which the decisions are made solely by the leader without input or feedback from employees; delegating, which allows for input and feedback from employees; supporting, which involves leader participation, but most of the decisions are made by the employees; and lastly, coaching, which requires minimal direction and guidance by the leader. The x-axis demonstrates the degree of directed behavior exerted by the leader, and the y-axis demonstrates the degree of supportive behavior exerted by the leader. D1 to D4, shown above, represents the level of development of employees of the organization. Situational leadership is effective for nonprofit organizations for two main reasons. Firstly, situational leadership can bridge the gap between volunteers or non-paid employees and paid employees. It is important in non-profit organizations to distinguish between these two types of employees because there is frequently a difference in the factors that influence organizations, such as the type of commitment, knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics, the level of employee motivation, engagement, productivity, and retention of each employee. This model offers leaders the opportunity to adopt leadership styles in response to employee needs and interests while meeting positive organizational outcomes. This can also result in organizational stability in this changing working environment, which brings me to the second reason: changing workplace trends. Changing workplace trends can significantly impact employee performance and interactions within an organization, particularly following the emergence of COVID-19. It can also influence organizational development and sustainability. These are the most current workplace trends as established by the Society of Industrial and Organizational Psychology. As you can see, greater focus has been placed on employee well-being and technological applications in recent years, partly because of COVID-19. The versatility of situational leadership allows rapid application of innovative policies and procedures to improve training programs, communication strategies, and organizational culture, which is imperative for the survival and growth of nonprofit organizations. To form a leadership team that effectively implements situational leadership, it is necessary to select employees who are capable of promoting strong, diverse teams, value employee opinions and feedback, demonstrate empathy and respect for cultural differences, capable of delegating efficiently and making difficult decisions, effectively communicate organizations' goals and employee responsibilities, and are capable of implementing training programs to fill employee skill gaps and establish employee retention plans that take into account workplace trends. In closing, I will leave you with this quote from Simon Sinek: "Leadership is not an expertise. Leadership is a constant education." Thank you for your time.